What is your experience? Is there a oh crap moment you haven't talked about already, or is it all has it already been exposed? Well, is there like a 14th level oh crap moment you could share with us?
Oh man, I mean, it was just, I don't process emotions like a normal human being, I feel like, because I experience total numbness, and then I experience fear, and then I experience like being touched or like being excited or stuff like that. So it always takes me like a really long time to really react to things. So my first day on set,
I feel that you should lie on the table now. Like, we can analyze this.
Victoria, I think those are just the 5 stages of grief you just described.
I think it's like an Emily Dickinson poem that elaborates on this too.
To like happy emotions, which is very strange. I mean, the same thing has happened repeatedly over the course of my publishing career, which has made my agent really confused. Like, why aren't you happy? It's really amazing what just happened. And I'm like, I don't experience happiness until 3 days from now.
No, I actually totally get that.
Yeah. Just wait, it'll happen. Yeah. So my first day on set, I wandered around like this for 5 hours, and I was really taking everything in and being really excited and amazed by it because it was really beautiful and very thoughtfully put together. And I was meeting, like Jai Courtney as he's doing his bicep curls, and it was just very strange because he's very, very muscular. But and I was just like, oh, it's nice to meet you again, totally deadpan. And then when I went home, I like got all like, but they all thought that I hated it because I was just like not reacting. So I tried to tell them like, don't worry, this is just how it works. But my really I guess the big oh man moment was when Kate Winslet got on set.
That's funny.
She just wandered in looking.
Did she wander in and do that?
Yeah,
Did you paint her?
I did not paint.
Hold on.
But she did come up to me and she was like, oh, hello. This is a terrible accent. Like, oh, Veronica, you're so amazing, and gave me a hug. And I was like, Kate Winslet is hugging me. But I played it cool. I was like, yes, really nice to meet you. And then I sat down and I laughed hysterically for 3 minutes. And I was like, just meet Kate Winslet. She was really nice. So that's my story, I guess. I don't have anything new to share except for the teaser trailer that a lot of you have probably already seen.
Let's see it anyway. Let it roll.
The future belongs to those who...
That's exciting. Did you go to the town set with the sort of...
Yeah.
Was that sort of freaky dystopian moment?
It was weird because it was like right in the middle of Chicago.
Yeah, you can see
and
that.
Also those buildings aren't real. Like they're just like flat facades or whatever. So you go in and it's like the guys who are making the sets are like eating their lunch there and stuff. There's like nothing inside. It's cool.
We just thought that was what Chicago looked like.
Yeah.
Okay, was there more anxiety or more emotion in the releasing of the book than the anticipation for the movie? Or are they totally different?
Oh, so different. I mean, it's kind of what we're saying is that you have so much more ownership over the book because I controlled everything that made it in there. For better or for
like you're the
worse.
set designer, the director,
Exactly.
right? The cinematographer. You set the camera.
It was like, if this sinks or floats, it's because of me. But if this movie, it's my source material, and I very much hope that they respect it. But I also, at the end of the day, don't have control over it. And I don't have control over the way people receive it. So you have to gotta let it go because it's like, will they love it? Will they hate it? I don't know. But no matter what, like the book is done, my work is done.
Yeah, So do you ever have a kind of freak out? Like, do you see lines from the book in those scripts and you respond to it? Or do you feel like, who's this other version of us doing the thing we sometimes did?
Yeah, I think I had this similar experience where I was like, dialogue, like, only keep it if it works. Like, sometimes I would, like, say the words that are in Divergent that the characters are saying to each other out loud, and I'd be like, you know what? That doesn't really work as well out loud as it did on the page, which just happens because, when you see dialogue, it's a little different than listening to it. So I was just excited when they got little details, right? Like the costume guy was explaining to me why the abnegation costumes were made the way they were, and he's like, as you see, because in this faction they believe blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I know. But he was so sweet, so earnest, and I was like, this is awesome. This man knows this book. He doesn't need to know it, that guy. Like, he doesn't need to have read it, but he had read it. It's amazing.
That is like the real, oh my God moment, when you sort of hear these people talking about your characters with specificity, whether they're talking about like this line of dialogue, or she should be wearing that, or her hair's not right, and you're like, oh, right, that's because you know, I wrote that. Like, there's all these people talking about how her cello should be held because I made her a cellist. Sorry about that. That's a little nuts.
It's always the costume guy that gets me. Okay, like they're the ones who seem like, you see their book and it's crazy, the redlining. I mean, if you see the copy of your book that goes in the hand of the guy in the costume department, it's freaky as heck. I mean, it's really like all the way through. So that was a big thing for us. Just not to wade into it, but Cassie had a hard time with critics with the Mortal Instruments release. Beautiful Creatures had a harder time at the box office and actually had some better reviews from critics. It's rough fitting into the category of YA. I feel like sometimes it feels like there's blood in the water and they go for you more in YA. Mel, I feel like you got some positive stuff, and Witches is one of my favorite of your series, but I also feel like you didn't get the YA hammer in a certain way, which is funny because you're principally a YA author. I mean, do you guys think it's fair? Do you think we have extra scrutiny? Do you think there's some kind of, you know, not witch hunt, but, you know, vampire hunt? You know, what is going on?
I think there is a snobbery, and I think that, quite honestly, I think the snobbery has much more to do if a story is centered on a teenage girl rather than a teenage boy, and I think that's just an inherent bias. If it's a Harry Potter and it doesn't do well, for whatever reason, they're not going to be like, well, that's a teenage book that didn't do well, whereas if it's about a teenage girl, it's going to be like, well, the genre, you know, that's the problem. I think that our society has some very a bias against teenage girls and a fear of them in a lot of ways, and I see it over and over when I talk to people and I explain what they write, and they think of teenage girls as these mysterious creatures who travel in packs, and I always think, but you were one once. You were a teenager. How did you forget it that quickly, and how did you get so removed from it? And I think that's where it comes from myself.
Well, I think also the studios are guilty in the narratives that they create as well. I think part of the reaction to your movie, to Cassie's movie, was that they were so blatantly trying to be packaging them into the Twilight spot. Mm-hmm. And so I think that the narrative was coming from both ends, that it was presented, I think, unfairly as being, oh, the next Twilight, that was the easy hook for everybody, which was, quite frankly, something that Hunger Games got to dodge. Yeah. But you guys did not get to dodge. And I think it wasn't YA so much as they were really trying to pigeonhole it very narrowly, and then when the critics, whether they be bloggers or film critics, were attacking it, they had been given sort of the lens through which to view these movies, and they chose to view through that lens, and it wasn't very fair to the material.
Yeah.
And I think that does happen, and I think part of it is the bias towards sort of who is the main character. But I think it's the lesson, I think, that was there for publishing as well as for movies was don't try to package something so hard as the next that it loses all of its individuality.
Be true to what it is.
Yeah, and be true to what it is, because if you're truer to what it is, that's how you're going to intrigue people. If people just think it's a rehash, I mean, the host, the same thing. If they think that it's just another attempt at something they already like, they're going to be extraordinarily critical.
And those haven't succeeded either. Like, you know, if there is a next, people just want the new thing. I mean, they want the next being the next in that series, so it becomes a franchise. So the next Hunger Games is going to be Hunger Games.
Right. I think that it's true. You look at Ender's Game, which had quite a backlash going, still managed to make some money there, and you see sci-fi. I mean, I was interested to see the host go down rated, because I really feel like sci-fi is sort of a protected community in a certain way, the same way I feel like contemporary is, and I think those are sort of pulled out genres. People see sci-fi at the movies. Like, we see big action movies as a culture. You know what I mean? Like, it's a thing beside from teen, right? It has another tag. 10 minutes, okay.
I feel like it's hard to know like what would happen if they cast someone you were like, oh my gosh, I am like viscerally opposed to that person. Because that just didn't happen to me. So
There's not a lot of places to do that in the process.
Yeah, but they'd say like, this is who we're considering, and I'd be like, yeah, good job.
Ask me in 3 days.
Call me again later. Yeah, and I just kept waiting to like stir up some stuff, and it just never happened. Yeah, because I mean, they did a good job, I think.
Yeah, they did a good job.
Just wait.
Yeah. Anybody else? All right. Anybody else? Something that worked on screen?
I did, Ferris wheel scene. When Tristan climbed the Ferris wheel. It's gonna be cool. Because that Ferris wheel, I did a lot of research about how you could climb that Ferris wheel, and I did like crazy Google image searches where I was like looking really close and all this stuff because I couldn't actually get down there at the time I was writing this part. But there's a diagonal with a ladder on it, and then there's a platform in the middle of the wheel. And when I watched the playback from that scene, they're climbing up this ladder and like finishing at this platform, and I was like, oh, it's a direct, perfect translation of that particular moment because, you know, it's an actual wheel, it actually exists that they could really shoot it on, which, you know, we were very fortunate about that. But it was really, I mean, that was the day when I cried, because it was like, oh, this is perfect.
Yeah, I do think that the set guys are often the most genius guys, sort of production design. I think we